How's your day? How you doing?
My day is going great now because I get to talk to you guys and share it with other people. And I come back to the Marvins because every time I end up talking to them, I learn something. And I figure, maybe we can get other people in on the action.
Sure.
And that's what we're doing tonight
Okay.
on the 4 Bite Show. Um, First off, uh, I wanted to give you guys a chance to please walk through just briefly how you got from where you started to where you are today for people who might not be particularly familiar or who have read anything I've written about you. Please.
Wow. From where we started, 2015 to today. Are we including COVID too, or are we skipping right over?
No, this is all part of the history. I'm not, I'm asking you to give us a synopsis that we're going to go back and talk about individual things on, but get us from starting out on Carolina Street
Carolina Street, downtown
to where
Buffalo.
you are today, just and give us a sense of how your business has changed and grown, right? Your business is bigger today than it was then. Tell us how that happened.
Yeah, so we started out in 2015. It was a small corner store um, right down the street from us, basically in Buffalo. We started out doing maybe 3 ferments. I think it was 2 sauerkrauts, a kimchi, a couple pickles. We opened in like the middle of winter, and we were like not really sure if anyone in Buffalo was going to get it. There were no stores selling fermented or pickled things locally. Kombucha wasn't even really like available in supermarkets at the time. No one really knew what it was. So we definitely had this like, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it. So we had a very tiny space. I don't know how many square feet.
750 square
Like
feet.
750 square foot little bodega on the corner, and we opened and had this crazy like line out the door. People were really supportive of us. And then we eventually kind of outgrew the space because we started wholesaling. Um, and we just needed to be able to put product on pallets and get it out so that it could get through New York State. So then we moved to Chandler, to our new space, where we decided to also open a cafe where we could focus
Which
on
was our main goal.
right.
We wanted to focus more on retail, less on the distribution side of things.
Mhm.
And then
The move to Chandler came in what year?
so we moved to Chandler in 2019, and then we put a lot of money into building out the cafe because we were trying to focus more on retail and have a cafe that would support our products. And it took us about a year and a half to open, and luckily we opened our doors just a few months before COVID hit. So then once COVID
Admirable
hit,
timing.
yeah, once COVID hit, we shifted our focus to, well, the first thing we did is we offered free food to families because we knew friends of ours had kids, and we knew that their kids were now staying home from school, and at this point it was only supposed to be a couple weeks. So we offered free meals to anybody to kind of supplement that, because we didn't want them to have to spend extra money, uh, to buy groceries and stuff that normally the kids would eat lunch at school. So we shifted to free meals for kids, and then we went from free meals to kids to free meals for just about anybody. And then at this point, everybody couldn't leave their house, and then our distribution sales just kind of took off from there. Everybody was shopping from home. Everybody was kind of focusing on gut health and wellness and stuff. So we went from focusing on distribution to focusing on retail to kind of being forced to reevaluate the entire business model, and then focusing on distribution again. And then that's been our main focus since.
Mhm.
You put all your energy into getting ready to serve people
Yeah.
coming in every day, and then boom, that was over.
Yeah.
So today, you are distributing your product. Please give us a rundown of the various. Let's start with the various states that you're available in, please.
So we are available all the way down into New York City, Vermont, Connecticut.
Some spots in Delaware, some spots in Massachusetts. Delaware.
Rhode Island.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
I think that's all of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 99% New York State. Some small wineries and things like that outside of the States, but, we're getting out there.
Ferment is spreading. I mean, well, and more importantly, to draw, pull the camera back a little bit. I mean, what I'd like you to talk about, if you don't mind, is how you survived this. I mean, your business plan had to go this way, that way, the other way. I mean, how do you, as somebody who's fully in charge of a business, make decisions when you have your goals just wiped out by forces outside your control?
I think it's always been like that for us. We've always had to say, like, I thought this thing would be really, really popular, and we put a lot of time and money and everything else into it. And then, maybe it wasn't that popular. It wasn't the thing that we thought was going to take off. And then this other thing that we thought, well, this might be kind of a cool little side project. Maybe we'll just do it for a month. Takes off, and all of a sudden it's our most popular product. So that wasn't really a new concept to us, but it was definitely in a bigger scope once COVID hit. We really had to pivot like big time.
It was terrible.
It
was frustrating because we just dumped all the money that we had available into building a cafe. And then when all of a sudden distribution picks up, and then we have to, all the funds to then buy more glass, buy more labels, buy more items for distribution sales. One thing that made it easy is it's just Lindsey and I. We don't have any investors. We've never taken money from anyone. Not that we wouldn't, if anybody's watching. But it's just us, and we couldn't leave the house. We were still able to work because we were essential workers, and we were still providing grocery stores, but we had an awful lot of time to talk about things. And honestly, I think we had a conversation in the very beginning when it was still kind of, flatten the curve in 2 weeks, that whole vibe. We had a conversation, and it was very like, we're just going to ride this out however it goes. And to not try to fight against the current, which isn't always easy, but I think that's the only way we were able to do it. We're like, okay, we have to go this way. Our mentality has always been, when we were in the 750 square foot corner store, creating products for Wegmans, Whole Foods, the co-ops, out of 750 square feet, our main motto has always been, no matter what it takes, we're just going to get it done. We can bitch and complain about it later on, but right now we're just going to get it done, and then we'll sleep later. And that mentality, and Lindsey and I both growing up in kind of like the punk rock hardcore scene and that DIY ethic, we've always just been like, we're just going to focus on doing what we can do ourselves and get it done. And, COVID definitely threw curveballs, and some of them hit us in the head, but, we just rode the wave.
You take the pitches as they come. You run out of glass jars that you can afford to use, and you have to switch to plastic for a while or shut down, and people judge you for it.
Yeah. Which it's working with distribution companies is obviously fantastic because your product gets out to more people, but the downside to that is we don't get to have those conversations with customers as much. So we don't even realize that people are upset about it until 9 months later, when we're like, wow, our sales have really dropped significantly because we're in plastic. And it makes complete sense because, we're a business that's focused on sustainability, farm to jar, vine to brine, if you will. Go ahead, TM. And it just made sense that, of course, people would be upset. But, we're so close to it that it's to us, we know it's a logical solution because, after COVID, there was a glass shortage. A lot of glass companies shifted to manufacturing glass for vaccines and for some companies just shifted focus into, protective wear and things like that, and our glass went up like, I don't know, it was like somewhere like 75% per jar. It would have just destroyed us, and we had to make that decision.
Yeah, we just didn't have the power. Like some of these big companies can buy like, a shipload of, containers and containers of glass at a time, and
Yeah.
small businesses like us we just can't do that. That's crazy. We're buying pallets at a time. So when they tell you we're not going to make it unless you order maximum amounts, we were just kind of like, let's figure it out until they figure it out on their end too.
In 2020, or closer to 2021, we were shopping around for other glass companies, and they were like, we can't take on new clients until 2024. So we were really kind of just forced into that decision. I mean, we're finally getting back into glass probably in the next couple months, but again, that that involves re-educating, and we probably lost a decent amount of customers during that time because it looked like we got lazy or we just got cheap or whatever the case may be. And so then we have to go back and say, hey, look, this is what happened.
Do you have room on your label to print an apology on every bottle? I'm kidding.
We'll wrap it up on a little piece of paper and put it inside the jar like a message in a bottle.
I mean, let me just stop there and pull the camera back a little bit. Let's look at the big picture here. I mean, you are two people who decided to get into a very, very tough situation in the first place, and that is convincing people that it was worth it to buy better pickles.
Yeah.
I mean, just from that base proposition, okay?
Yeah.
What you have going for you, of course, is that there are certain elements of culture where people love the idea of a pickle store. They have pickle stores in their history, or they got to see one or visit one once, or got to experience the full-fledged fermentation delight of people who are really into it, really knew what they were doing, and were selling enough volume so that you could come in and get a real selection of stuff all the time. I mean, the ones on the Lower East Side, the Barrels, you know what I'm talking about.
Pickle guys, yeah.
And that said, though, what have you learned about the willingness and what it takes? This is a better question. What does it take to sell a $8 jar of pickles? People who are looking at the jar are going and making value judgments, but you have to deal with a whole bunch of people who have a whole bunch of different opinions about everything. How do you find a direction to go?
Well, I think RJ, because he worked in the culinary industry for so long, his big focus has always been on flavor. So he does have like a lot of really unique flavors that a lot of people have never experienced before. And then on the other side of it, a lot of our customers and people who are willing to try our products are going for health benefits. So our products don't have any like artificial colors, any chemicals. A lot of places they'll add chemicals to their pickles to make them crunchy after they've heat processed them so that they can sit on a shelf for years and years and years. But we don't do that. So all of those things that make these products unhealthy, but that are able to sit in a store in a supermarket for a really long time, those little decisions do mean a lot to the people that we're trying to get to buy our products. So I think it really is just about like educating customers on what are these ingredients, why shouldn't you really have them, why is it a better product.
It's hard. So for the sauerkraut, for an example, if we were doing an event and we're sampling sauerkraut to a group of people, a lot of people are going to say, well, first of all, if people don't like sauerkraut, they will let me know instantly. But the sauerkraut that they're used to came in a can. It's filled with vinegar. It's mushy. Usually it was cooked in some sort of a dish where it got softer. And then having to have the conversations with people to say, oh, this is a raw product. This is sauerkraut, but it only has 3 ingredients. It has garlic, cabbage, and salt. And then having them try that, and then they're like, oh shit, this is sauerkraut. And then they kind of have this realization that, oh, this is sauerkraut. And, little by little, inch by inch, we keep having those conversations with people. We love talking to people. And the same thing with pickles. Dill pickles are complicated because, if you go to a restaurant and you get a sandwich and you get a dill pickle spear, or a lot of the major brands, which are fine. I have absolutely no problem with them. I buy those pickles all the time myself, but a lot of that flavor isn't, it's not a real flavor, right? The dill pickle flavor that you might think of is extracts. It's some sort of an additive. It's some sort of an alcohol-based flavoring or something that they're adding to the jar. And just being like, we're not going to budge, and it's just like our pickles are very simple.
People, you must have people going, what do you mean sauerkraut can be crunchy?
Oh,
All the time.
100%.
Yeah.
That realization is always very I love it. Being able to say, this isn't what you think it is. And if you can get them to try it, maybe they don't buy it, maybe they don't care, whatever the case may be, but
the great thing is you get to trigger all these put up or shut up moments. You're like, here it is.
Yeah.
In 5 seconds, you'll figure out whether or not I'm full of it. Go ahead, try it.
Yeah. These conversations exist a lot outside of the city. We do a lot of sampling, Rochester, Albany, wherever we go. I think Lindsey and I have been apart, just working in restaurants and working in Buffalo for, a long period of time before we opened the business. So many people in Buffalo are just like, yeah, I'll try it. I'll buy it. People are like, I trust you. It's gotten to that point in Buffalo, and it's just such a magical thing for us where Lindsey can make a kombucha flavor. I can make a different pickle, and I'll try to explain it to someone. They're like, I don't care. I'll buy it. I trust you. Mm-hmm. And I know that with enough work and enough conversation and sampling and things like that is just going to build, wherever it goes. And education is very difficult, like I said, because we're not customer facing as much, and when we're outside of the city. But it's
well, here's a chance to educate your customers another way. Can you, Lindsey, you mentioned some of the things that RJ has come up with. Can you just pick out a couple and just mention things that are different that you guys do? Flavor profiles, I think you mentioned.
For flavor profiles on like pickles, we have honey chipotle, which is like a sweet, smoky. There's the Chesapeake dills, which is like an Old Bay dill. That's one of my favorites. Yeah. Sometimes people like don't know what it means, so they're kind of like afraid to try it. And then once they do, they're like, oh my, like we added that to our pickle. We have pickle tray kits that we can send out. We mail them. So we do that usually around the holidays, but they're available all the time. And they get 6 varieties of pickled items. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put in some of the ones that I love, but aren't super popular because they just haven't been distroed yet. So like maple bourbon is one of them.
Oh, whoa, maple bourbon pickles?
Yeah, they're delicious. They're so good.
Like cucumbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
hold up.
I think a lot of it too is just having the knowledge of balancing the flavors. Sometimes it's not, always just this crazy combination of flavors, but it's knowing how to stop. It's knowing how to stop adding stuff, or when to add stuff. Especially with the kombucha that Lindsey produces. So many people are like, oh, we love your kombucha, and it doesn't taste like other kombuchas we've had. And kombucha is really, really tricky. I can't speak for Lindsey, but a lot of kombucha that is on the shelves is coming from California, from one of the largest producers of kombucha in the entire world. It's coming from California. By the time you get a lot of this stuff, it tastes like vinegar. It's very too sour for a lot of people, but the flavor combinations that she creates and the way that she flavors them in a way that people are like, it's more approachable. And I think that's
RJ, I had to say, and I've said this to you before, and I might as well tell everybody else, that I said, hey, Lindsey, how did you make kombucha It doesn't remind me of yesterday's warm beer, like most of the kombuchas. And I'm not being a suck up. It's just like, look, I have drank a lot of kombuchas, as is my duty. Yours just didn't have that objectionableness. I don't know, fresher, fruitier, cleaner. I don't know what it is. What is it that you do that's different?
I think with all ferments, there's like this very delicate dance because you can follow that same recipe exactly every single time and it's never going to turn out the same because it's alive. It's going to be moody. It's going to depend on what time of year. Your produce is going to have different bacteria, different yeast on it. There's a different temperature in the building you're in. What's
Did
even
you say,
on you as a human being is different.
did you
So
say moody?
yeah, it's a living thing. It's very temperamental.
Moody,
Um,
temperamental. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Sassy.
so
So you were speaking of something that is known as, I mean, let's face it, a mother?
it is. Yeah, it's
Mother is
more like a
moody.
mother-in-law. It's sassy. You gotta.
Ow.
Sometimes
Ow.
you're trying it, and you have to change a little. Sometimes it wants a little more fruit. Sometimes I have to add a little more acid to it, a little more like sweetness. So every time I
Is it
make,
naggy when you don't call?
yes, well, sometimes
Hey,
we play music at it to see if that'll change.
this is a true question because I'm curious. So I've seen kombucha made a few times, and the mother is kind of like a thick floating fungus, essentially.
It, yeah, it's
How
big.
big?
Ooh.
How big is your mother in like square feet?
So I just did some SCOBY maintenance, and our tanks hold about 3,000 liters each, a little over. So they're big. They're big round tanks. I would say we probably pulled off at least 600 pounds
hundreds of pounds.
of SCOBY to remove it because it had overgrown.
I
And
mean,
now
is
they're probably,
the mother the thing that helps turn the whatever sugars in there into kombucha
yeah,
or
so
pre-kombucha?
it's a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And it's just like a nice big culture. It keeps growing and eating sugar, and it'll take up whatever size vessel it's in, and it'll keep growing in thickness. So
Float.
it floats on the top.
Okay, now this is leading me up to the question I've been dying to ask somebody for about a decade. You walk across the top of the mother in a kombucha tank.
It would be like a cover on a swimming pool, but
You'd go down.
you'd go down.
You'd go
Okay.
down.
I just needed to know that. I mean, it's just, but thank you.
Yeah.
And okay, let's get back to like things people actually eat. So what are some of your larger selling flavors of kombucha? I mean, you make the stuff and then you flavor it with stuff.
Yeah, one of our most popular is probably strawberry lemon. I like to use local strawberries, so we partner a lot with like Ertl Farms, and whenever we're at the farmers market, we try to get as much produce as we can. So we have 12 different rotating taps on at the cafe too.
Whoa, 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 whoa! You put actual strawberries in your strawberry kombucha?
We do, yeah, we do.
Okay, well then maybe that's the kind of thing that makes it taste better. I mean, not just some additive. Back up the truck, Charlie. The strawberry is here. Where's the tank?
And then another one would be spirulina grapefruit. So we put spirulina is like a blue algae, so it turns it a really beautiful blue color. Has grapefruit, lemon, so it kind of tastes a little like squirt,
Yeah,
like that soda.
very popular.
But it's good for you, which is great.
Oh. Well, and all of it's got the probiotic stuff. It's good for your gut, etc. Do you add sugar? And if you do, what kind of sugar do you use?
I do sometimes add just a regular cane sugar if it needs it. Something that's like really fruit forward, like if we were doing something with really ripe blueberries, I might not have to do anything to it.
Yeah.
But if maybe I'm doing like a cranberry mint kombucha that's a little dry and I want it to be a little sweeter, then I would add some sugar to it.
Yeah, it's an important part of the fermentation process, and the sugar it needs to be added to the tea in order
To the base tea.
to
yeah.
give the yeast something to convert into alcohol.
Mhm.
Right. And then you have to
Converted into
and then you have to figure out how to get the fruit in there without making it all weird. Hey, I was curious. So do you actually like draw up a calendar of like looking forward to the season? Like, hey, when the peaches come in or whatever, I'm going to
Right.
make kombucha.
That's like our favorite part.
Yeah.
Wow. Seasonal kombuchas. Okay.
Like I know every year I deal with Singer Farms and I get, hundreds of pounds of cherries, like pickled cherries. Uh, the stone fruit in Western New York is just insane,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of what started Barrel and Brine was working in restaurants and dealing with so many farmers. And it happens quite often that a farmer will call and say, "Hey, we have whatever 4, 5, 600 pounds of peaches that nobody is going to purchase." In a lot of places in the country, if you see a peach that has a little bit of a bruise on it, a lot of people are turned off. They want that perfect looking peach. So at farmers markets, people might not buy them because they're a little bruised. So it's nice that we're able to take a product from someone that worked so hard to create a peach or a cherry or a grape or whatever the case may be, and rather than having them toss it out or let it rot in the field, we're able to convert it into something that people can enjoy for months and sometimes years.
Where would the peach end up? I'm curious.
Oh, all sorts of places. Lindsay makes a lot of peach kombucha with pickled peaches. Or I use them in the cafe.
We do a peach vinegar.
Peach vinegar. I mean, making vinegar
Vinegars too.
is one of my favorite things to do.
This might be a good time to run through some of the spectrums of the fine ferments. So pickles, yes, cucumbers, kimchi, kraut, all these various things, and the kombuchas. But you guys have done a whole bunch of other things. You've done vinegars. You've done a barrel-aged Worcestershire the English way. No, but I don't even know what that is. Just tell us about the Worcestershire. I was like, because one thing I know about you in a culinary sense, you're a fanatic in the best possible way. So like you want to find out all the details about how it works, break it down, build it up your own way, and go. So how did you make Worcestershire sauce?
I tried to find the oldest possible recipe I could find.
I always tell people if you were gonna buy it from like a hobbit in a field
Yeah.
somewhere and you had to like fight a troll to get this stuff, that would be the closest to whatever he's making.
Yeah, we were gonna call it Hobbit sauce, but it didn't sound.
Because
it
I
didn't
can't
sound
say
that appealing.
Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah, no one could say it.
Worcestershire to rule them all.
It's what's this here sauce? This tastes good. What's this here sauce that you made?
Seriously, tell me, how'd you make it? What goes into it?
So I also naturally ferment that. So I'll start with some sort of an alcohol base, and then I'll add some previously fermented vinegar that I've produced. And then I just start, I've gotten local stone fruits. Sorry. I put figs. I'm not going to give it a recipe, but I put a lot of stuff in there. Kippered salmon, because the old recipe calls for, anchovies or some sort of a salted fish. I use a kippered salmon, which is like a maple glazed smoked salmon. So I infuse that into the product as well. Loads of cardamom, allspice, cinnamon, orange peels. I got oranges from Thorpe's Organic Farms, which also have an orchard in Florida. So I'd be getting all these beautiful, oranges, lemons, and then I just put it all together, and then I kind of watch it closely for a period of time, because at this point it's on its own. All I can do is guide it, and all I can do is make sure that it has what it needs to survive. I let it rock and roll for sometimes 6, 7, 8 months, and then I strain it out, bottle it up. There's so many different umami factors to that sauce, like ginger and the salmon, the smoked part, molasses. It's pretty good.
It is good.
There's a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of ingredients in there.
Trying to look up on your website how much you charge for that. It's like $100,000 a bottle after all that effort, right? Wait, hang on a second. How much is that?
Taxes included though, so it's okay.
20
$20. Yeah, we don't
$20.
have any now. It's sold out, but we'll have more next year.
Hey, well, next year when it comes in.
I might have some floating around somewhere, but
I mean, it's not your average. Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a bottle.
I make
Can I
just
tell you the truth? Can I just tell you the truth? one fanatic to another. Hey, RJ, sip it.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, right out of the bottle.
Just a little bit. I'm weird. Okay. I mean, you can use it in things, and that's great. But for what it is by itself, anyways. So, uh, Worcestershire sauce, vinegars. Is there? What am I forgetting? You have other things going on.
Fire tonic, Bloody Mary mix. Too many things.
Fire tonic,
Lots of hot sauces.
Hot sauces.
nut sauces.
Yeah. Yeah. Most
So
of
this
this
is
stuff.
turning out to be a full-scale, full-spectrum production house. Like, what are you going to ferment next? I guess this is the question, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't you guys need like a koji grove or something? Isn't that the hot thing now? I mean, because look, I have seen what you people can do. Another thing I will tell the audience that RJ turned me around on was the Texas hot. Look, I've eaten Texas hots, long time. It's a Buffalo thing. Well, it's not just a Buffalo thing. It's actually all the way from, you would say, Delaware, New Jersey, all the way through Detroit, where they call them conies.
Our style.
I get it, but I didn't respect it until I saw it, the Texas hot through RJ's eyes, and you turned out those Texas hots that, that you had there. Why do you love them so much?
Why do you not love them enough?
No, it's okay.
So,
It will have come to your attention that certain people have derogatory nicknames for your favorite edible for various reasons.
Yeah, we call ours gutter dogs.
Gutter dog. See, that's a polite. That's very PG. Good for you.
Compared to some of the other ones, yeah.
yeah, I can lay all the names out now, but I don't know what the
Where does your Texas hot love come from? I mean, you grew up in Dunkirk.
yeah, Dunkirk, New York. Drunkirk, New York. My dad would take me to Johnny's Lunch in Jamestown or some other spots. Big hot dog guy. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a big hot dog guy. Every birthday, my mom would let any kid in the house, if it was their birthday, they got to pick what they had for dinner, and I always had Texas hots. They're just fantastic. And the bad ones are good too. It doesn't matter.
It's debatable.
Being drunk and eating a Texas hot it's one of life's simplest pleasures. But mine, I was a little pretentious about it. It's funny, I started Gutter Dogs as like a satirical thing. It was during COVID and I was just getting bored. I was like, we got to do something. And I just wanted to make this like over the top hot dog with the stupidest sounding name. And I'm like, nobody's going to eat a gutter dog, right? But damn if Buffalo doesn't pull through every time. Every single time they come out.
Prospect of a chef who a lot of people remember fondly from places like Blue Monk, like that. You have a rep in this town for making people happy, especially after they've had a few. So I don't think it's any surprise they'd show up for just about anything that you would say is, RJ approved.
I mean, I think the food scene in Buffalo is that's what it's all about. We can there's a lot of really beautiful restaurants and stuff, but it's a blue collar town. We just like some blue collar eats sometimes. It's just how it goes.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was we've talked a few times over the years after a place that is like kind of famous shuts down, and you see what you see in social media is this great blossoming of interest in a place
Remembrance.
Yeah.
sort of afterwards. Now, I've never been through the operation and then closure of a restaurant. You have several times, so you have a different perspective on it. And just let me have it. I mean, what do you always say to these people?
Well, I think the last time you and I talked, that the one that stuck out the most was Town Restaurant, right? And every comment on your post about Town closing was, I remember going there 10 years ago. Like, oh yeah, it's such a great place to go. I remember going there when I was a teenager. I remember going there. And everybody's sad that it's closing, but can you be? I mean, are you surprised that? I mean, I don't know the circumstances. I don't want to make it. I don't want to sound like an asshole. I don't know why they closed. But Black Sheep is another great example. I mean, people were like, "What?" Oh, I remember going there so long ago, but nobody was like, "I remember going there last week," or like, "I'm so shocked. I went there last Thursday and it was great." Well, you can't be that surprised if it's, if it, yeah.
So I think sometimes in the aftermath and I'm reading these things, and as a restaurant journalist, I attend the births and the deaths of many, many, many places. It's the job. You write birth announcements and you write obituaries. Um, you know, it, it kind of makes me wonder sometimes, where were you when this place was alive? When you could have done some good?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know, it seems I get a little like, oh, really? It meant so much to you that you wanted to like hold forth, but not enough that you would stop by and see how they were doing.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, and
I don't know.
I understand, and I'll be as transparent as honest, or as transparent as I can be. Sometimes I can be a little hypocritical, um, and a lot
Guilty. I
of times,
mean, hello.
if a good friend of mine in their restaurant closes and stuff, and I take that personally too, because I love these people and I'm seeing it. But at the same time, like I don't know what everybody else is going through. I'm sure there's reasons why people don't go to restaurants, but I think it's difficult um, because sometimes support seems enough. Like I shared somebody's story on Instagram, so I'm supporting that restaurant in some sort of a way, or I'm liking a post on Instagram or on Facebook, or I'm sharing something, so I'm supporting that restaurant in some sort of way. And I suppose that's true. You're getting that information out to more people, but going inside of the restaurant, seeing what it's about, seeing the things that they've been working on, and having that excitement of having dinner somewhere is
Yeah,
more
there's been a
important.
pattern too where places will close down and they have this post and it'll say like, COVID just did a number on us. We can't come back from it. And then all of the comments start rolling in and people are almost like outraged that they're using COVID as the
Mm,
reason that they're closing. Um, and stuff like that come like when you're looking at it from our perspective is so confusing because like the way people go out to eat has changed. People
yeah,
are relying on takeout more, so
yeah,
you're making less money. You have to pay all these services. You have to pay to post on all of these different
yeah.
sites. You all of the costs that you typically had, like just buying a box of rubber gloves, went up like
Oh,
75%.
yeah.
So every single thing that these restaurants have to buy, is it's just making their margin smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Rent's going up, you know.
Mm,
It the easiest way to explain that is say like, yeah, all this has happened since COVID.
yeah.
And when people read that, I think they don't understand. They don't really understand how much things have changed and how much more expensive it is.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's
Everybody's shopping.
yeah.
Can you give us a couple of examples of things that have changed that people don't realize?
Yeah, I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of places, I mean, even if you think about the local breweries that we have, a lot of them have had to pivot into aluminum, where a couple years ago they were in glass. Well, that's great, but now aluminum prices are going through the roof and they can't source hops.
Yeah.
And so now the price of hops is like quadrupled. I mean, we see the same thing in our manufacturing, where every single thing down to like the labels, the cardboard, have gone through the roof. And then when you think about on top of that, just, diesel to get it to where it needs to go and your rent.
Yeah.
Literally, Andrew, you throw a dart at the wall at any expense, it's gone up so high. And people have reached that threshold where they're like, I can't rationalize spending this much money on these items anymore.
Right.
It seems
Which
crazy.
is a fair point too.
Yeah.
It's hard for everybody, whether
There's a
it's you're a
ceiling.
producer or a consumer.
Yeah.
Prices have gone up for everybody. The one thing that we talked about recently was, chicken wings, and people are they don't understand why chicken wings are so expensive. And there was a period of time just a couple of years ago where chicken farms just they had to close. They closed their doors. Well, I mean, I'm sure some reasons were poor practices or whatever the case may be, but people were getting sick and farming just kind of stopped for a little while. Local farms, of course, but you're not going to get enough chickens in a local farm to produce plate after plate of chicken wings. The price goes up. Chicken feed is more expensive. Everything is up, and it's difficult to walk that line. So some restaurants are saying, well, I used to serve this particular cut of meat that maybe cost me $6, $7, $8, $9 a pound, and now it's $15 a pound. So maybe I have to serve a different cut of meat, and then people are upset that the meat is different, and also upset that it's expensive. So it's a difficult line for chefs and cooks and restaurateurs to walk. But I don't. It's
That's not your struggle anymore, is it? Now your struggle is, can we sell fine pickles
pickles.
in a tough time when they are admittedly something you don't absolutely need to survive? I mean, and among the things you're facing is the difficulty of differentiation, because you are an actual mom and pop, like literally a mom and pop.
Yeah.
But you're out there fighting for shelf space against Big Pickle.
Yeah.
Damn Big Pickle.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And they have a lot of money.
You
They have
know,
reach, and
there was a time.
that's so stupid.
There was a time just.
About pickles.
There was a time just recently when a certain pickle company stepped to you on social media and said, "What's up?" And you had to call them out. Do you want to talk about that or not?
I don't care.
Use a fake name.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, look, it's on the internet for everybody to see, so I don't know why you might well just go ahead and say it.
The pickle company itself is fine. I'm not going to say the name of the pickle company. It's totally fine. But they're a multi-million-dollar corporation that's owned by a larger multi-million-dollar corporation. They're supported by all these people, but they have a lot of money and a lot of marketing dollars to try to convince buyers that they're the smallest little mom and pop, still just still just slinging pickles on the corner. And it's so strange because I don't understand why. There's nothing wrong with being a large corporation, but I also don't understand why large corporations spend so much money trying to convince you that they're small corporations.
Remember Barrels and James?
Oh, hell yeah, I remember Barrels and James. Yeah, bad memories.
Well, obviously the answer is that RJ and Lindsey need to start doing pickle commercials together. I mean, clearly this is a way to break through.
We have so many great ideas for pickle commercials, but I don't know any writers and directors, and get some
You
actors.
don't know any?
Well, I'm
Well,
sure
we can round some up for you.
people together. Let's make some commercials.
I mean, let's face it, you have fans in this town.
Sure, I don't know why, but yeah. The business, sure. Me, I don't know. The business, popular. Me, not popular.
Oh, we know what they say about RJ Marvin. His food is good.
Attitude.
As the person. All right.
I love everybody. I love everything. Big corporation pickles are fantastic. Taste good.
So,
Ettridge Farms, small, local farm.
Did RJ tell you about Fredonia State with the kombucha?
No.
All right, please tell me about that.
It's a very similar situation. We got kombucha into Fredonia State, which is where I went to school. So I was like, they're going to give me a check? They're going to give me a check? This is great.
Pay those loans back, baby.
Congratulations.
How's that shoe fit? No,
hold your congratulations.
But they turned into one of our biggest accounts for kombucha like overnight, because it was in their bookstore, like convenience store, and in cafes throughout campus. So we were like, oh, this is great. And then Pepsi, I think it was Pepsi.
Mhm.
Pepsi came in, who they have a contract with, and said, actually, we're going to sue you if you keep carrying them because we just bought ourselves a kombucha company, and now you have to sell only their product. So we got like strong armed out of the entire campus.
She kicked you out of your alma mater
Yeah, they came after me.
where you were ahead.
Hometown
Yeah.
heroes.
Yeah.
Well, how do you like that?
I know.
I don't know. I mean, the campus might never recover, but maybe they can get, smuggled in supplies or something. I don't know.
Poor kids.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just as a point of revenge, what's the retail spot nearest to that campus where your stuff is available, if you know?
Oh, good.
I know, right?
We could set up
Sorry.
like a little lemonade stand, like
Yeah.
right where you're pulling in.
Yeah.
So what the other now? It is currently. This is a fun conversation. It's currently 6:47, and I had something else I wanted to talk about. But first, I wanted to see if any of our guests might have something to type into chat. And more importantly, I wanted to see if there was anything you guys wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about yet, because you're the people the show's about, and I should shut up.
I probably lost most people after I started talking about restaurants and shit, but
I'm hanging right in there. I'm hanging there right in with you.
oh man. Well, I mean, yeah, we sell online now. We ship across the country. People can buy our pickles online.
I mean,
Our core stuff, a lot of stuff we make is just for the hometown.
so what's the best way to get up to speed and get in the info stream to pick up on your seasonal specials? I would suggest myself personally following your Instagram account,
Yeah,
because that's where you seem to like post a lot of like, hey guys, here's what we're working on, guess what's coming.
right.
Yeah.
And that's when you get the idea that like, oh, apricot vinegar is coming, or I just made that up, but and that way you can keep onto, because it's a creative ferment that you've got going on there. You're tossing ideas around, and you are willing, since it's just the two of you, to make these little bets, these little gambles. So like, let's try this, let's try that, let's try the other thing, instead of running it by some committee that goes to whatever corporate central and does a focus group, and then 3 years later you get an answer.
Right.
So that nimbleness must accrue to your benefit in some ways.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
We're just like, hey, we want to try this. Okay. A lot of times the fruits and the things just fall in our lap. But one thing too is that we love having classes and giving lectures. And if there's anybody that ever wants to, come in and learn how to make stuff, we offer that as well.
Yeah, we've had like some fun like bachelorette parties come in. They want like a pickle making class, or people come in with students or kids, and
Bachelorettes and those pickles, huh? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's a match made in heaven.
Did you have to hose them down afterwards, RJ?
No, they were very nice.
We have a question from Jim McMullen. Would it be correct to assume that most of your products are gluten-free?
All of our products are gluten-free. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of our products are gluten-free. All of our products are vegan, aside from our kimchi, which contains fish sauce, and our honey chipotle, which contains honey. Everything else is vegan as well.
Keeps it simple.
We do make a vegan kimchi for Bread Hive, utilizes the vegan kimchi, and both of Lexington co-ops utilize the vegan kimchi for their little kimchi fritters that they make, which I don't know if you've had them, but they are awesome.
Yeah, I have.
So
Actually, Nancy Parisi introduced me to the co-op kimchi fritters. They are dynamite.
so good. Yeah.
We're thinking we might do like a wholesale, like a retail version of the vegan kimchi, because it's been so popular locally. So I think it's time to probably pull the trigger on that.
It's so good, yeah.
But gluten-free. The only thing that's not gluten-free that you would ever find is if you came into the cafe and you got like a sandwich or a flatbread or something. Yeah. But all of the items that you would buy in a jar are safe.
Even our Bloody Mary mix, which I do add Worcestershire sauce. I don't have my own, but I use a store brand, I guess, Worcestershire sauce. I do utilize one that doesn't have wheat in it, so even our Bloody Mary mix is gluten-free.
Sure.
Oh. There you go. Building that determination from the ground up makes it easier to answer consumer questions, I assume.
Yeah.
So, okay, I just had a couple more questions, and then anything else people want to talk about. And what a lovely evening. Um, Roughly, how many tons of vegetables do you sell at this point?
Tell me what?
Tons of vegetables.
Oh God.
I know. I don't even know.
That's funny because sometimes I deal with local farmers, obviously quite a bit, and there's been a few local farmers that are like, I'd love to be able to support you and be able to supply you cucumbers, and I'm like, okay, I need 5,000 pounds of cucumbers, and they're like, no, I can't do that, dog. We use a farm called Kirby Farms out in yeah, they're kind of heading out past Rochester a little bit. They're awesome. They every week they're bringing me like 2,000 pounds of cucumbers, but I mean we're in tons and tons and tons and tons of vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Our sauerkraut alone, we every time we make a batch of sauerkraut, it's upwards of 1,000 pounds of cabbage.
Okay, how many batches of sauerkraut roughly during a year? Let's do some math. Just give me a ballpark here, people. Just on the cabbage. Okay. How much cabbage do you think you might go through in a year, roughly?
I mean, just in March, we're going through barrels and barrels and barrels of
St.
sauerkraut.
Beatrix Day.
Okay, never mind. You don't want to do the math. Sure.
Yeah.
No,
You're gonna figure it out.
Going about 700,
Lindsey,
560
what
pounds. That's not great.
so you having made of something of a success of your business, you run into, let's say, friends of yours who have an idea for a small business, an artisanal food business, and they come up to you, and what do you tell them are the things they have to make sure of, whether or not, like, if it's going to be a go, you need A, B, C, D, whatever. What do you tell them?
I would say be prepared to like teach yourself how to do all of the things that you never thought you were going to need to do. Like, do you know anything about accounting? No, strap in. You're going to want to know how to do that. You're going to need to know how to say no because everybody's going to want a piece of you for something, and not everything's always a good fit.
That was the hardest thing.
That's the hardest thing to learn.
Hardest one to do.
And I would say surround yourself with people who are already in that industry so that they can prepare you for all of the mistakes that they made along the way so that you don't have to learn the hard way. A lot of our friends are in the food industry. I worked in restaurants. RJ obviously worked in restaurants. So every step of the way, like, don't ever treat another company like it's your competition. They're your buddy. Like, they're gonna help you out. You're gonna help them out
Locally.
Yeah,
I've
mean,
treated a couple people like they were our competition in this conversation alone.
No, I mean, like, you know, a lot of the people locally are like brewers and stuff like that. If I had a question about a chemical that I needed to clean something with, or how to make, you know, a bright tank for kombucha instead of beer, I was relying on a lot of them to help me through it. But I think what happens with a lot of new businesses is they like isolate themselves instead of trying to be part of the community of people in that industry, and that's like huge.
You would, is it fair to say that you would advise more of a community DIY ethos than the hustle, I'm going to beat everybody's ass?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people waste money and they spend it on like merch right out the gate and like a lot of like silly frivolous spending instead of just being like, I'm going to try to do this myself first.
Yeah.
You know,
I think too, it's very important that, you know, success is weird because it's not necessarily a monetary thing, right? It's not always about money. I mean, I'm sure that's probably a symptom of success, but surrounding it, just there's so many people in so many different industries that have helped us, you know, whether it's just people in the culinary industry, the brewing, the brewing industry, you know, just so many people that have started their own businesses. Like, you can learn from anybody. It doesn't have to be your business. You know, if you're making jams or something, you don't have to only talk to people that make jams. You know, we know doctors and stuff that are now starting their own businesses that, you know, the conversations there are just the same. You know, everybody's kind of in that same boat, and the conversations are important and the conversations benefit everybody. And the support that you get from people, and then you support them back and you share that experience and you share those stories, and all of a sudden everybody that you're hanging out with and everybody that there's more people at the table. Now there's more people eating, and there's more people talking and growing more, and more people come in, and more people are doing their thing because they get inspired. And then, being a mentor, I mean, all these things, even Kevin, you talked to Kevin last week from Typico, like him and I talk all the time, and we always ask each other questions. What do you think about this? And, we worked together, but we're in different places now, but those conversations are important.
Uh, I think that's one of the reasons that your pickles have caught on, because your pickles part of a community and your community effort is out there, and you rep your pickles and yourself. You're like, hey, what can Barrel and Brine do to help? You show up, you do shit. And in the end, one would hope that is reflected in people favoring you and your work. I would hope.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
so thank you for all that you've done. Oh, and
Janice
I
has
almost let the show end before my daughter Lydia's partner Shy loves half sours. And when I asked you half sours, you're like, well, we don't have them now, but what'd you tell me?
Oh, in the summer, we produce them. Yeah, once the cucumbers are closer to home, we make them, and they're difficult to make. So, we do a couple batches in the summer, and we ride them.
Right? Why are they difficult to make?
Uh, they're just a little temperamental. Cucumbers are. So part of the reason why we have to make sure that they're from a farm that we know and we trust. Um, Sometimes we've gotten produce from a farm that maybe the cucumbers have wax on them to preserve them and stuff, and we don't typically take that stuff. So cucumbers have different enzymes in them that make them soggy if you don't trim them properly.
Yeah, there's like two different worlds with pickles. There's acidified pickles, which are made with vinegar. And then there's fermented cucumbers, which are what you're talking about, which is like half sours, full sours.
Yeah.
So those are fermented similar to like a sauerkraut with lactic acid. There's no vinegar, there's salt, they're probiotic. So when we were talking about like temperamental ferments that have like a mind of their own, those cucumbers fit the bill. Like,
there's been a time where on a Wednesday I'd look at the fermented pickles and say, "Oh, these are beautiful," and then I'd come in on Thursday morning and be like, "Holy shit, what happened to this? What happened to this barrel of pickles?"
And then maybe a week later you come back and they're great
maybe,
again. And they taste great.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing.
If all goes well, Barrel and Brine should have the half sours available. Can you tell me what month?
I think we usually have them in like,
July.
I was gonna say July, August.
Okay. Well, this summer we'll have that to look forward to.
Part of them is quarter sours because they continue to ferment. So from quarter to half, from half to three quarters, from 3/4 to full.
Right. Well, that's
about where we like to eat. I know you have to go. You have to do things, but I'd love to shout out some restaurants that we go to. I love Mint.
Oh, please. I just want to say first that thank you for giving us so much to look forward to. Among other things, the seasonal ferments of Barrel and Brine. And yes, please, RJ, commence the shouting outage.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mint, we go to Mint all the time. I don't know if you guys have been to Mint, but I go there quite a bit.
On Niagara Street, the empanada place. Mint and empanadas and mojitos.
Great cocktails.
We were there the other night, and I had a few too many.
We like Peking Quick One. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We love a shitty Greek diner.
Ooh, Hydraulic Hearth on Thursdays when Danny's doing tiki nights. Danny's a smart cat. He knows a lot about rum and ciders, and he just loves to share his knowledge.
Dispo.
Yeah, great place.
All right.
I'm trying to think where we've eaten recently. I can't.
Mighty Taco.
Okay.
Mighty Taco. Good.
All right, I'm gonna cut this off and go get a Texas hot. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, Andrew.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate your work. And hey, man, keep on fermenting.